I never thought grilling burgers in my own backyard would feel like a crime. But when Karen lives across the street, every spark of charcoal feels like a declaration of war. That Saturday afternoon, the sky was blue, the grill was hot, and I had friends over for a long overdue barbecue. That's when she decided to ruin everything. "Excuse me." Karen screeched over the fence. "This is against HOA regulations. You're violating air quality standards." I set down my tongs and blinked. "It's just a barbecue, Karen. Everyone here grills. It's Saturday, not an apocalypse." Her lips tightened, her voice sharp. "I'm calling the police." And she did. Minutes later, 2 officers showed up, clearly embarrassed to even be there. One officer smiled politely. "Sir, we got a call about, illegal activity." "Smells like burgers to me." Karen marched across the street, pointing dramatically. "There. Look at that. He's endangering children with smoke and flames." The officer sighed. "Ma'am, a backyard barbecue isn't illegal." She stomped her foot like a child denied candy. "You're useless. I'll take this to the HOA. You'll regret this." That was Karen for you. Always threatening, always clutching the HOA rulebook like it was scripture. Over the next week, letters began arriving. First, a friendly reminder about unapproved backyard cooking appliances. Then a $200 fine. Then a threat of further legal action. I sat at my kitchen table reading the third notice, my wife shaking her head. "She won't stop, will she?" she asked quietly. "No," I muttered, folding the letter. "But I think it's time I stopped playing defense." Karen didn't just hate me, she hated everyone who didn't bow to her imaginary throne. She yelled at kids riding bikes, snapped at neighbors who parked too close to her curb, even screamed at a delivery driver for daring to stop in front of her house. That's when an idea sparked in my head, simple, but devastating. She hated community? Fine. I'd give her more community than she could ever handle. The next weekend, I walked door to door. "Hey, I'm hosting another barbecue. Everyone's invited. Bring friends, family, whoever you want. Let's make it a real neighborhood event." Almost everyone smiled. "Oh, absolutely," said Jim from 2 doors down. "I'm sick of Karen telling us what we can and can't do." Even quiet Mrs. Thompson, who rarely left her porch, agreed. "Count me in, dear. I'll bring my potato salad." Word spread fast. People didn't just agree, they wanted to make it big. Someone suggested live music. Another neighbor offered to bring a smoker for ribs. By the end of the week, I had nearly the entire town RSVP'd. Karen had no idea what was coming. The morning of the big barbecue, I set up extra tables, coolers, and banners. My wife looked at me nervously. "You sure this isn't going too far?" I grinned. "It's just a barbecue." Karen can't argue with hospitality. By 2 p.m., people started pouring in, dozens, then hundreds. Kids played tag in the street, neighbors carried trays of food, laughter filled the air. Local musicians set up speakers and strummed guitars. It wasn't just a barbecue, it was a block party. And then, Karen came out. She froze at the sight. Nearly the entire town gathered around my house, music playing, grills smoking. Her jaw dropped. She stormed up to me, red-faced. "What do you think you're doing? This is outrageous. You can't just invite the whole world." I shrugged. "Actually, Karen, I can. It's called being neighborly." Her eyes darted to the crowd, people smiling, waving, enjoying themselves. She was losing control, and she knew it. "Enjoying yourself?" I asked lightly, handing her a paper plate. She smacked it away. "You'll regret this. The HOA will fine you into bankruptcy." But this time, I wasn't afraid. This time, the whole town was on my side. And the real twist of revenge? That was only just the beginning. Karen didn't back down easily. She disappeared inside her house, probably drafting furious emails to the HOA board. Meanwhile, my backyard looked like a festival. "Best ribs I've had in years," one man shouted. Another neighbor raised his cup. "Here's to finally standing up to that woman." The community spirit was electric. And I knew Karen could hear every laugh through her tightly shut windows. But her next move? Oh, I was ready. Half an hour later, flashing lights appeared again. "Police." Karen emerged triumphantly with folded arms. "Yes, officers. Shut this down. Noise complaints, fire hazards, illegal assembly." The officers stepped forward, glanced around at the families, the kids, the live band playing softly. Then he shook his head. "Ma'am, this is a permitted community event." Her face turned beet red. "Permitted? What do you mean?" That's when I pulled out a folder. "See, Karen. I spoke to the city council last week. They love the idea of a neighborhood cookout. In fact, they gave me an official event permit. So everything here? Totally legal." The crowd burst into cheers. Karen sputtered. This is outrageous." "You can't," but the officer cut her off. "Ma'am, if you continue causing a disturbance, you may be cited." For the first time, Karen looked genuinely speechless. Now here's where I'll pause for just a second. If you're enjoying this story of a small community standing up against unfair treatment, you'll probably love hearing more stories like it. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button and join us. We share true tales of dignity, justice, and a little bit of sweet revenge. The night rolled on with music, food, and laughter. Karen slammed her door and didn't come out again, but we all knew she was fuming inside. Neighbors who'd barely spoken before were now chatting like old friends. People swapped phone numbers, planned future gatherings, even talked about starting a real neighborhood association, one based on fairness, not fear. By the end, the irony was complete. Karen's attempt to isolate me had united everyone else. A week later, the HOA board held an emergency meeting. I attended with a dozen neighbors. Karen sat there red-faced, demanding I be punished. But when the board looked around and saw the room packed with smiling residents, they realized something. If they sided with Karen, they'd lose the entire neighborhood. Finally, the president sighed. "No action will be taken. In fact, perhaps we should consider more community events like this in the future." Karen gasped. "You can't be serious." But it was done. The board sided with the people, not her. As I walked out with my neighbors, one of them clapped me on the back. "You didn't just beat Karen, you reminded us what being a community really means." And that was the sweetest part of all. Justice didn't come through fines or lawsuits this time. It came through laughter, music, and friendship. By turning Karen's spite into unity, she lost the one thing she craved most: control. Sometimes the best revenge isn't anger or conflict, it's proving that dignity, kindness, and community spirit will always outshine selfishness. Karen tried to divide us, but instead, she brought us together. And I'll take that victory over any fine or threat she could ever throw my way.